What's up, everyone? Welcome into a new week of Locked On Bucks, and we're going to start with part two of our conversation with Milwaukee Bucks championship-winning assistant coach Blaine Mueller. My name's Kane Pittman. You can see and hear me on this show daily and find my other work over at ESPN. In part two of the chat, we're going to talk about Blaine and the other coaching staff on court with NBA players. We're going to talk about what it's like to coach Giannis and work so closely with him. What did PJ Tucker bring to the championship team in the locker room? What memories does Blaine have of the NBA championship, the historic NBA championship? And then we're going to finish up by asking about early impressions from MarJon Beauchamp. We know Blaine was with the team in Las Vegas at Summer League. So plenty of Bucks stuff to talk about through here today with an assistant coach. It's very rare we get this opportunity. I know, by the way, just a quick note, there has continued to be some bugs in the system with the audio stuff on my end, at least. Apologies for that, but hopefully this podcast you found enjoyable. And if you missed part one about Blaine's journey to the NBA, please go back and watch that. It's a fascinating story. Let's get started.
You are Locked On Bucks, your daily Milwaukee Bucks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
So I want to talk about the on-court stuff because this is something that I had no idea until I was in practices and at games regularly to see what you guys do. And it's such an obvious thing now that I feel stupid that I had no idea that it went on. But you go into practices and there might be, whatever it might be younger players, might be players that are coming back from injuries. And you guys will jump in scrimmages or that type of stuff. Or you mentioned Skylar. So for Bucks fans might know Skylar, there's been, I think, a couple of stories about the fact that he would often be defending Giannis and just getting, by the way, he is a huge man. But Giannis bullies everyone. And Giannis is, and I'm just looking at Skylar thinking, how is this guy not broken by doing this with Giannis all the time? But you're the same. So if you're working out with individual players, if you are scrimmaging and you're, like as you said, you played it down, but you played D3 basketball. So I can't even discuss how much better a basketball player you are than me. But I'm watching and I'm just like, if I'm not an NBA player, I feel like if I was out there scrimmaging, I'd be like, all right, don't stuff this up. Don't do something wrong. Just try and get everything right. It feels like it would be a stressful scenario. You've done it a lot now. I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, early on, you're like petrified.
Yes.
Because you know very much like you are not anywhere near. It doesn't matter if it's 1 through 17. Like you're not anywhere remotely close to being as good as the best player that's out there, or best players, right? I mean, the number one thing for us is like, don't get anyone hurt.
Yes.
And don't screw up the plays. Like run the plays and put, whoever, whether it's, sometimes it's one guy, like you said, on a rehab. Sometimes it's a full play group where like you might only have 1 or 2 coaches that need to slide in to get it to 5-on-5. Sometimes it's 3-on-3, 4-on-4, half court, full court, whatever it is. Like we want to give them a look is like what we would say. Like you want to put whatever guys are on your team in the positions that they're going to be in within our offense, within our defense. Like whatever our coverage are, whatever our actions are, like we're trying to synthesize a game for them. And basically like you're not out there to like be the superstar and take every shot. Like if you're wide open, you need to shoot it because it's like it's for the flow of the game. Like you need to be a basketball player, but like no video guy should be like pulling the ball out to like ISO against like his scout coach because he wants vengeance. Like you're trying to make it as close to a real game as possible as it is. And I always say like it's great cardio. Like I'm running corner to corner, staying out of the way, like just try to make a smart heady play here or there, maybe grab an offensive rebound, but just make sure nobody gets hurt. If you're open, shoot it. But really just trying to make sure that like the play as much as it can be is high level and as close to, feeling organic and real for those guys so that they're getting something out of it.
With Bud, so I think for the longest time, he's been known as a guy that players love to play for. It's the cliche, but a player's coach. And one thing that from speaking to different assistant coaches along the last 3-4 years that he's been in Milwaukee, they all said that he does like to delegate. He gives guys responsibilities. I'm sure there's been a process for you, and there's building trust and all those types of things. What's Bud like to work under?
He's so smart. So it's very intimidating. I will say.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's pretty incredible. So like my first year was an intern, and I wasn't in the coaches meetings. I was back in the video room, like just grinding away. And then that transitioned to head video coordinator, or like when you're in the travel party, and now you're in the coaches meeting. So now pre-practice, post-practice, post-game, whatever it is, you get insight into what's going on. And a lot of it is just you're a fly on the wall, kind of taking notes, good, bad, or indifferent, like what's kind of going on, what is the approach, like. So with him, it's he's able to keep tabs in so many places. I think that's one of the biggest eye openers of being a head coach in the NBA is like there are so many different moving parts going on. Like it's not as simple as just an X and O. But he's very competitive. He wants to win more than anything. That's at the end of the day, that's all he cares about. Is like, I'm sure you've heard it, competing, getting better, and like playing winning basketball. So I've been very fortunate to have come up within this video room and to learn from him, not just from the standpoint of him being the head coach, and that relationship with a video coordinator, because that role is really anywhere in the NBA. Like you're the head coach's right-hand man in terms of like the prep, the video, the digging, like the mining, finding trends, whatever's going on, good, bad, with a team, and trying to be able to like relay that to him and vice versa, like him being identifying things and asking me to go find the film to match it. But there's another layer with him having been the head video coordinator. Like he's done the job. And so, with him, it's like no one's ever going to do the job as good as he did. Right. And like in 20 years, I'm going to feel the same way. Like no one's ever going to do the job the way I did it. Right. But it's very unique. And I take it, I have a ton of appreciation for it because it's made me so much better. I can't imagine like where I was 4 years ago to now, just from being around him and like sitting in, whether it's team film sessions, just the coaches session before. And sometimes it's a lot of times with vitamins and the coaching staff gets pulled out, like it's just me and him. So like being able to watch him go through a clip, like one clip from a game on an edit, and basically just break down the whole thing.
Right.
And like, it's like, I'm like, oh yeah, it's like, that was a great move. And he's like talking about, like the, a DHO that happened like 10 seconds before it and how like that manifested the whole thing anyway. Like, so I'm very appreciative of it because it's just, I think it's pretty unique. I know like Spo obviously came through the video room, and it's just a different path that I think's pretty incredible to kind of go through that phase. Like, and no one makes a career out of being a video guy. Like there's a lifespan on it, but like it's a PhD in basketball. It's like you watch so much film, you're just immersed in it constantly, your team, other teams, and then like to be able to kind of just observe, a head coach like Bud going through how he manages deciding whether a clip is in or out, or what order it's in, or what order the section's in, or how long the film is, and like what do we need, like all of those the intricacies that go into managing the team and all these moving parts that he does. I'm very lucky to be able to watch it kind of unfold, and then from my standpoint, take those things with me as I move forward.
What about the players? So you're in a film session, and clearly there's feedback bouncing backwards and forwards. Is there one of the players from this group that I don't know if you want to say has coach tendencies or whatever it may be? Is there a player in these film sessions that is always all over everything, or super vocal, pointing things out? Because again, from what I understand, Bud is saying, okay, I probably know what's going on. What are you guys telling me what you're seeing in those types of things?
Yeah, I think, I mean, our guys, for the most part, like we have unbelievable guys. Like our guys allow him to coach them. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter 1 through 17. Like, he's gonna coach them, like, and hold them accountable.
Mhm.
And so, like, we're very like, I mean, you hear horror stories about
Yeah.
other places and like just personalities and like, look, like these guys they're superstars. Like they're across the league. Like they're we're to a certain extent like expendable, right? Like it's just it happens every year. Coaching staffs get fired, whether it's their fault or not. Like, but the players are players. Like they're the reason we all have jobs anyway. So like, no, there's no argument here. But we are very fortunate that our guys like they allow him to coach him hard and hold them accountable and like demand from them like the level of competitiveness that we demand, whether it's game 6 of the NBA Finals or a game in February. Like we're going to compete and we're going to play hard. Like it doesn't matter the opponent, the circumstances, who's in, who's out. Like that's our approach, and that translates to the film sessions too. I mean, and there's guys that will to a certain extent, like voice their opinion or like just share like, hey, well, this is what I
Sure.
saw, and he talks through with them. Like it's it's not always black and white in terms of and especially with the game and how fast it is and that it's not as simple like when you can push pause and play and rewind stuff and like talk things through. It's never going to be perfect, but I think especially with how our kind of our leaders are, the Giannis, the Chris, the Drew, like they're all selfless and they want to be coached. So if he's going to be able to coach Giannis and Chris and Drew and hold those guys accountable, then he's going to be able to do it all the way down the roster.
So if we go back to the championship run and you talk about guys that needing to stay somewhat relaxed, trying to be coachable, stay in the moment, work through pressure situations, whether it was Brooklyn. And by the way, even getting over Miami, a team that obviously had beaten you the year before, but then going down 2-0 to Brooklyn, the Giannis injury, going 2-0 to Phoenix. I mean, it was an incredible journey in terms of how these players were able to, honestly, from the outside, the most simplistic way I can put it is just stay positive in all the moments where it could have completely derailed. What does that look like inside?
I think for us, like at every step of the way, there was just a level of confidence that like we had the guys, I say we, but like they had put in the work and they had gone through enough from the previous couple of years that like this is just a bump. It's not like the end point, I think was kind of the feel that we got. And like we just are that same group, like the whole group really, but our, Giannis, the big three, Giannis and Drew and Chris are like, they're quiet and confident guys at the end of the day. And like, they don't get too high. They don't get too low. Like Giannis has said that a million times in press conferences.
Yes.
That's again with how good our guys are. They're very authentic too. Like the people that you see in their interviews, like that's who they are. They're great human beings and they're authentic and they're just those three, and especially Giannis, like they're just unflappable. Like it's not. We're gonna go and compete. Like whatever we're up 2-0 or down 2-0 or it's a game 7 or it's the NBA final, like or Giannis is out. It's just the guys. Their focus was just on competing and winning. They weren't thinking about like what could happen if things go wrong. Like that's just how I felt. It's like every step of the way. It's just those three. Their demeanor and their approach. It was no different than when we were up in Miami and, up 3-0, like, and trying to close them out, right? Like it was the same approach, regardless of whether we were up or down or starting a series or trying to finish one. Like they are who they are. And like, we're going to roll with them.
So if they have the level-headed confidence and you're already smiling. I don't know if you know what direction I'm going at, but if they have the quiet confidence and certainly almost quiet competitiveness, even though we can all see it. If you're the D3 PJ Tucker, what did NBA PJ Tucker bring? Because he, again, from the outside, is almost the opposite of that. His competitiveness and his vocal ability to tell everyone that it's not over was a contrast to the other guys on this team.
Certainly. Yeah. And as I touched on, like the quiet confidence of the Chris and Giannis and Drew, like that collective, like they're great leaders, and the way they go about leading is a little bit different. It's not the, in your face, like grab you by the shirt, bark, like PJ's talking all about dogs. Like that's what he brought, is like he brought the guy that was willing to say what everyone was kind of thinking, but just make sure we're all on the same page, and did it in a way that was like, he demanded your attention, and but he had the respect of his teammates, of the other players. Like he's played in big games, he's been in big series, like, and he's gonna walk the walk. Like he's not just gonna sit here and say all the things that people want to hear or whatever. He's gonna go out there and do it. And I just think, like, from the competitive, and there's like the picture of like him going face to face with KD, like from like their little scuffle, right? Like we're not going to back down. Like, and he just kind of, I think our guys always had that in them. I know that they did, but like he was able to just kind of tap into it in a way that we hadn't really had a personality like him before that, from the various trades we'd made. But like, that's what he brought. Like that was part of kind of his spirit, and like it gave those guys, I think, another level of confidence that they always had, but he just kind of tapped into it because he's got this big voice, and like he's like just barking and screaming, and then goes out and lays everything on the line, and right, like doesn't score a single point in game 6 of the finals, but he's out there and like I think he's got like the best plus minus. Like he's invaluable, right? Like in that space, like just does things that help you win.
All right, I've only got a couple more because I know we're going way over time. But I have to ask you about working with Giannis specifically, because I can sit here and say that, watching every Bucks game and watching this guy every single night is just, it's a joy for me. And, as a guy that's the best basketball player in the world, you're working with him closely and you're seeing it from the bench every night. And you've already spoken about his personality, but just through the basketball aspect of coaching and being so close to him, do you think about it often, or do you just get too locked into the job and what you're trying to do on a daily basis?
I think early on, I was like wide-eyed kid coming in. We're just like, and it just because like they're human beings. So like, yeah, he does things that are just otherworldly every night, and like you have to kind of like take a step back and like realize like how special he is as a basketball player. But I don't know. It's just like, I think he doesn't like to kind of dwell on any of that stuff. Like he just wants to win. So it's like, it becomes pretty easy to not get caught up in like the highlights and just kind of the allure of that, I would say. It always, like, we get back in training camp and like, you kind of forget, because he's been in Greece like the whole summer. Like we're gonna you forget how big and strong and powerful and athletic this guy is, and then you get him out on the court with some young kid like Sandro got quite a bit of it last year. Like it's just kind of like that was his welcome to the league experience, right? And then you go through the whole season. There's the stuff that he does on both ends of the court. With and without the basketball, they're just like it's incredible. Like I think Bucks fans, I know Bucks fans appreciate what they have in him for sure. It's not one of those things where you take it for granted.
So the championship in general, and you could probably go on forever, but we've spoken about your path and how you got to the NBA. You grew up in Wisconsin, and let's be honest, the team sucked for a long time. I was watching them every game, so. The first time I came to Milwaukee in 2014, I believe it was, just as an NBA fan. and I myself was walking into bars and asking them to put the Bucks game on across the road from the Bradley Center, and they're like, I don't know what your problem is, man, or where you're from, but we're not putting the Bucks game on. We're watching some other random thing. So I totally get it. And then you're getting photos with the trophy. You're in the celebrations. I mean, it's an extraordinary story, and of course, I know that you would say, well, the players did all this, Bud did all this, but for you personally, it's crazy. It's just an incredible story.
Yeah, I mean, it's real and it happened. It's still like one of those things that I don't think I've like fully wrapped my head around, even a full year later, like that we did it. And the players did it. Because at the end of the day, they're the guys on the actual court. But very surreal and fun experience, again, from the standpoint of having my family there to share in it in such a large way. And like my hometown and family, friends, like extended that are Bucks fans in general anyway. And now they feel like through me, they have, an association with the team, an attachment to the team that I enjoy. Like, that's what I love the most about my job, is like being able to share the experiences with other people. And, hopefully that they feel that, too. But certainly surreal for all the things we talked about, is with it being the hometown team, and like from where we were to, with being up on Toronto to the bubble, and then turning around and like having gone through all that stuff made the whole group, the team, the players, also the coaching staff, and like Bud especially, just like so hardened for it and like ready to just take that on. Because it was daunting. Like there's no question that I don't know what would have happened had we fallen short, right? Like literally driving home from Brooklyn after game 2, like thinking like, how are we going to win a game? Like, and then to go from that to winning the whole thing, like the roller coaster of emotions that are like the NBA playoffs. Like you win one game and like you think you're gonna sweep them and win the whole thing, and no one's ever gonna beat you, and then you lose one game and like the sky's falling, like, and you're just, because there's so much on the line for everyone, and like it swings back and forth, but having been through it, it made it that much more special to, I know, for the players to have gone through what they had to go through with the previous couple of years, and then what we went through within that journey with all the stuff that you talked about, like getting over the hurdle with Miami, and then the Brooklyn series, especially Game 7. Like, I mean, as cool as Game 6 was, like, I'm not trying to sell. This is a testament to how incredible Game 7 in Brooklyn was. Like, that's the best. That's the most memorable basketball game I've ever been a part of. And just to witness it unfold, like, was unbelievable. Like, it was such a high level basketball game. And like the consequences of that game couldn't have been magnified even more. And then like losing Yanni for a couple games in the Atlanta series, and like Bobby and Brooke and Chris and Drew like stepping up in such a huge way, and Jeff Teague in Game 6, like in Atlanta for him. Like there's so many stories, like, and like pieces of it all coming together. And then again, like Phoenix, you go down 0-2 and like come back home and then rattle off 4 straight. But I will admit, I rewatched the championship game on the 1-year anniversary, and then that just led me down the path. Like I got all the games that from the broadcast, so then we kind of went down the wormhole of like watching Game 7 and watching Game 5, and then watched all the finals wins. But no, I think the overall journey, which is like, that's the culmination, like holding the trophy of like, just for everyone, the players, the coaches, performance staff, the front office, like just hours upon hours upon hours of work and, sacrifices that everyone's making in some capacity with their personal lives to pour into something and to have it rewarded with the ultimate prize. And then for me, the added layer of being for my home state team, having 10 of my family and best friends at that game to win it on our home floor is just nothing short of special.
Well, I do agree with you. Like, I feel like if you say Game 6 wasn't the highlight of the finals, and it feels wrong, but people have asked me, and I still think Game 7 was my most memorable as well. Just from watching, just from a complete outsider, the stuff that Harden bank shot. You guys not getting a shot off at the end of regulation, basically not scoring for the whole of overtime.
Yeah,
we know what happened at the end. I mean, there's just so many ridiculous things in that game, and that's only in the last 5 minutes of regulation and overtime. So. I imagine the stress levels were pretty high, but NBA doesn't really stop. And you've been through another season, you went straight into it. Last one I've got for you is Bucks fans are super. There hasn't been too many rookies to get excited about in recent years, or first round picks, I should say.
Yeah,
outside of Dante, people are very excited about MarJon. I think when you look at the individual skill set that he has, it makes sense. It feels like a Bucks type of player. You were there in Vegas. What was it like? Early impressions working with MarJon in Vegas.
If Bucks fans don't already love him, they will. He is a perfect fit in every capacity, from the human being to the skill set at for a position of relative need for us, and like where the league is to get these a big wing. But really, for me, like, he's so early in his career and early in his time with us that what stuck out with me the most is just the human being and how incredibly kind and appreciative and inquisitive he is. Like, he is going to be in perfect hands to be around Giannis and Chris and Drew and Wesley and Pat and all these guys, Bobby and Brooke and all these guys. Like, as a person, he is the perfect fit for this group. And like you mentioned, the skill set and the intangibles when you look at him, and his length and his athleticism, but all that's going to come for him. Like, the basketball side is going to come just from time, being around these guys, putting in the work, and he wants to be great. He really does. He wants to be coached. He wants to be pushed. He wants to get better. And like I've said, like Bud said a million times, that's what we're about. So, like, from a Bucks DNA standpoint, like, it's perfect.
Yeah, it's just, if people know the story, which I'm sure they do by now, it's hard not to support that story and the path he's taken to the NBA. And just quickly, are you prepared for Joe Ingles to give you all types of I don't know what the right word is. I don't want to swear, but are you ready for the Joe Ingles personality to enter the locker room?
Experience? Absolutely. No, I'm super excited. I've very close with the former video coordinator in Utah.
Yes.
Like, raved about Joe. Like, everyone said, George was with him in Utah, said he is the greatest guy. So, another great fit, an Aussie. Can't get enough of him in Milwaukee. I have to say I'm forever jealous. Like, I want to be able to say mate, like, as like a just vernacular so badly, but and I'm a huge fan of the boys. With Butcher, I don't know if you watch it, but
yes.
Just like, I wish I had an Australian accent. Like, it's it's the coolest thing, but I'll never be able to.
You don't get enough time. I guess you get enough time to come out here, but surely there's a Greece trip one of these off seasons. Have you been?
Yeah, well, I did. Yeah, we went last year.
Thought so.
We got out there. Yeah. No, I mean, that was incredible. Add to the list.
This was awesome. I think I told you half an hour. We've gone for an hour, so this will end up being 2 podcasts. But no, this was good. I mean, you can probably tell I could just keep talking and talking and talking with you. This was great. We don't often get this type of insight, man. So this is really fun.
Awesome. Yeah. No, I love it. Love doing it. Appreciate you having me on.
Well, I mentioned, now you got Joe there. I got to try and find my way back at some point. I haven't been. I thought I was leaving for a month when the league shut down in 2020, and I still haven't been back. So maybe at some point this season,
you're due.
I am very much overdue. Blaine Mueller, assistant coach let's be honest, championship winning assistant coach with the Milwaukee Bucks. It's a title we can never forget. We'll be back next week. Thanks everyone for listening. We're going to keep rolling 3 episodes a week next week. I can't keep doing 5 a week. We're in the middle of the off season. I need a breather. We'll catch you guys next week.
I mean, you clearly got some filler time if you're throwing me on here. So,
that is not something I'm willing to accept, Blaine. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.